Let's get right into it. I wanted to do my Notion rundown with you, and that's what we're going to do today. I already started making a few small adjustments that I did within the 2 weeks of the last video. Part of that was that I put my weekly planner into toggle list. Then I took out learning Spanish from my daily habits and put that into my weekly daily plan. I took out the doing my evening routine, and I put together setting boundaries and stopping bad habits. Another thing I did was that I reduced the time that I can see my tasks from 3 weeks to 2 weeks, and then I took out getting dressed out of my morning routine. And the last thing is I changed the order of my routines a little bit, but that's like all like very small adjustments. And now my plan is to show you the setup, how I'm working with it, and also doing a few adjustments with you together. So Notion is a very good tool to do a lot of things, and I'm pretty sure I already using a lot of very good things, but there's still a very big word of things you can do that I will not show you here. That is because I'm not a Notion content creator or stuff like this, but I still wanted to talk about it for many reasons, but partially because I have a friend of mine that is interested in getting a rundown. So therefore I'm basically doing this video for her. Love goes out to you, and everybody else can profit from it. That's about that. My Notion is very simple, especially in the beginning. I basically have a morning routine, I have like a weekly routine and an evening routine. The morning routine is actually something I'm working with a lot at the moment. That is working really good. My biggest problem at the moment is like evening routines, so that's what I'm going to look at in a few minutes. I want to start this with showing you how to do those boxes. It took me personally a while. Maybe this is something everybody knows, but it took me personally a while. Just generally, what I really like to do is you just do a slash and then you type in the type of things you want to have. What we want to have those boxes, it's called a call out. You can change the emoji however you like it. You can change the color of the background, so it's getting blue, or you can turn it, I don't know, you can turn it pink or whatever. Then, like I said before, I have my goals in a toggle list. My problem at the moment is, what is happening is I don't see the stuff all the time, and I'm not always opening the toggles the morning of the day. So that's why I am thinking about doing like a timetable as I had in school. But before we do that, I want to finish this section. Evening routine, also very simple. My problem at the moment is I don't think fun stuff should be part of the evening routine, because at that point I already did fun stuff. I think I have some very good points in there. For example, like if I do it, I sit down in my bed, take a very deep breath and try to really like rest my mind and try to let go of the day, signaling my body that it's time to sleep now. Also part of this is like doing my granny hobbies, where I'm usually like just doing some riddles in a little book. And I'm actually thinking at the moment of not just having it on my laptop, but writing down my evening routine on a piece of paper so I can like put it next to the bed. I think that is about the evening routine. Under this, I have my to-dos. So every morning I do a briefing and intention of the day, where I just write down the to-dos I have to do this specific day. For that, I'm looking into what I have to do on Monday, for example, like for today, and also what tasks I have into my long-term task list. And I also do have a monthly reset. Initially I did that alone, but Renee started to do it with me, where we sit down and check each other's calendars. We tell each other what is happening this month, more or less like a briefing. We celebrate like milestones and also talk about what can be improved for the next month. Another thing we do is like cleaning the room we live in at the moment, but also like I personally just do everything shower. I try to do this at least once a month. Another thing I do is I go through all the people I follow on Instagram. I go through all the groups I am in WhatsApp and my pin boards, and I organize all of that. So I leave groups that are no longer relevant. Sometimes I unfollow people where I'm like, I don't even remember what person that is. And with Pinterest, I just check if all the like pins are on the right pin board. And yes, I have a control issue. Another thing I do, or I try to do, is like check in with friends that I haven't talked to in a while. The next thing is I sort all my pictures, and at least once a month I'm gonna take them all down from my phone onto the laptop, or mostly onto my hard drive And something Renee and I started is that we do a digital photo book that we want to print in by the end of the year. So every month we sit down and collect all our favorite pictures from that month and put them into a few pages of the photo book. That is really nice. And then I really want to do at least one YouTube video per month. And then after I finish the video and uploaded it, I have to just like organize and redo the laptop, because this is not my laptop, this is Renee's. And the last thing that I have in my monthly reset is that I want to write down all the open loops and then find times and create deadlines for till when I want to do them. When I do this, it usually comes into the long-term to-do list. That's almost it. I have a little picture here and just the priorities that I want to have for each quarter. That's going to be more relevant in a later section that is going to be down here. And just a little tip, because it took me at least a while. I saw Notion inspiration pictures sometimes and saw those like arched pictures with the frames and everything. And I thought, like an idiot, that is something you can do on Notion. So you can take a picture and then you can make it arched or with a frame. No, you just have to go on Pinterest and find a picture that is arched with a white background. So much about that. The next step is that I'm gonna do a little timetable now for my weekly stuff. I'm gonna do the first row and the first column into head columns and head rows, so that it's gonna be a little bit grayish and it helps me a little bit organizing the stuff I'm doing at the moment. I know that there's gonna be variety in the things I'm doing at the moment. So for example, like Monday is not the same topics or tasks I have as Tuesday, but what I want to do right now is creating headlines, and then into the timetable I can add the actual things that have to be done, if you get what I mean. I hope you get what I mean. If not, you're gonna see what I'm doing right now. Okay, so right now I try to narrow it down to learning and improving, then working on my connections either to myself, to my friends, or to Renee, like friends and family of course. And then just general creative work, mostly that is gonna be YouTube, then learning Spanish, then my just general responsibilities like checking emails and stuff like that. Any form of moving, doing household tasks, and then of course like breaks and everything that is like regarding making food, eating food and stuff like that. So that is gonna be the baseline. Also something I learned just recently is if you have a timetable like this and you want to have more columns or rows, you're just gonna click and then click and then click. Or you take 100 years to figure that out. You can just like to figure something out that is standing right there. If you hover over the plus, you just can like pull it down. I felt very stupid when I found that out. I'm just gonna say that because it's very important for you to know that this is not a full-load tutorial. I am also still learning. I am not an expert. Especially because you can program in Notion. That is something I have absolutely no idea about, even though I'm going to show you a few things where you can do this and how you can do this. Okay, so I summarized the topics that have to get into the timetable, but I also created the most basic grid for the timetable. So having my morning routine, having a break and eating something, and then evening routine. And now I want to fill in the rest that is in here. Something I'm not doing at the moment, and I really want to do that, is that I start my day with taking on my responsibilities. Like my brother always says, like, eat the frog first. So do the things I really don't want to do in the beginning. I think that is something I want to start around 9 o'clock and then do that for an hour. I mean, I don't think I need like an hour for my responsibilities though. I think I need half an hour for my responsibilities. So I think 9:30 would be a good time to start something afterwards. 11 would be a good time to like for moving my body. I think responsibilities and then doing Spanish would be a really good thing, because I tend to forget it the later I am planning to do it in the evening. So I'm gonna learn like Spanish for like an hour, 1.5 hours. I think that would be a really good idea. Okay, I have 1.5 hours for my morning routine, and like half an hour for responsibilities, 1.5 hours for Spanish, 1 hour for moving, 1 hour for like actually having a break. Let's say 1.5 hours because I have to go back home when I do it in the park. And then 1:30 would be a really good time to creative work. It still would be really good lightning and I still would be energized, especially because I had a break. So I think the hour before my evening routine, I want to spend time with like people, that I want to prioritize on that day. So like that is a perfect time for connections. And then in the meantime, learning and improving comes in between creative work and connections. Learning something that I don't feel a responsibility towards, as I have with Spanish, would be a really good time around, like, I don't know, like 2 hours. Wait, maybe it's working when I do like this and then Control I. Yeah, everything is in italics now. Perfect. I learned something new. I'm usually just learning something because I'm hovering over something and then I read like the shortcut and put that planner here. That's shitty. Wait. Oh wait, I like it. Okay, it took me a lot of time now, but I moved things back and forth, and right now I really do like the results, and I will work in the stuff that is in my toggle list, so that it's not just saying Spanish, but what I have to do exactly on that day. I think that is something you can do yourself, however it makes you happy. Oh shit! My laptop just turned off because I didn't charge it. Okay, after my laptop just turned off, my phone now just turned off, so I have to re-explain the whole part. I wanted to show you my habit tracker. Right now it is very simple. I just have a few habits in there initially when I started with this in January. So you start with creating a database, and here you're just gonna add a property checkbox, and then you can just like duplicate it. What I did is I just changed the name to like 1 and then 2 and then 3 and whatever to like 31. You can just hover over the title, whatever, here, and then you're gonna see the number. You're gonna put in your habit, and then you're gonna put in another habit. The thing is, if you wanna have this over the whole year, you have to create a different view. So you're gonna get on the plus next to the title and add a new view. And now here is the problem. You have habit, and imagine you did the whole 31 days of January perfectly, so you have everything checked. And then you go to February, it's already checked. If you do it like this, January and February are the same, and you check them and you say, okay, it's fine, I'm just gonna uncheck all of them, then what will happen, especially in the graph, is that you unclick everything that you collected here, and then it's going to be at the bottom here, and then you're just going to do February. And then when you go to March, you unclick everything and do March. It will go down here, and then it will just do March. So what you're going to do is you add another property. You pick select, and you have February, and you're going to have January. What you want to do is habit and another habit. You're going to have several of them, and each one of them one gets January, one gets February. Put on a filter, chose select, and then for the February view you chose February, and for the January view you obviously choose January. Then hide the select because that is unimportant. So if you check habit in January, it will not appear checked in February. The only other thing I can tell you about is the slider. The slider is pretty cool because I think it's fun to see how good you're doing your habits at the moment. You can change the emoji. For example, what you can do is you go on WhatsApp, send the emoji you want to have, copy and paste it in here. But so much about the habit tracker and this section. Today's really not my day. I didn't screen record. Okay, so now to the graph. It is, like I said before, an overview how good you're doing your habits each month. And with that, I mean all habits. I just got to start from the beginning. So you're going to create a table. This time it's going to be a table view, so not what I did for the timetable. Now you have all your months, and then you're going to add another property that is this little arrow relations. It's going to be the values. And there you choose habit tracker. Then you're gonna add another property. You're gonna find the little glass, you choose roll up, you click in year, habit tracker, choose monthly win, and then you're gonna get the average. And the last thing you have to do for that is that you go into habit tracker in that little square and gonna choose all the habits you have for January, and then you repeat that for the other month. So you're gonna go in there, choose what you have for February, then for March, and then for April. Maybe you are a little bit more like me and each month is going to be a little bit different with the habits, and if you are like me 3 months ago, you're gonna have the same habits for each month. That is one of the reasons why I personally will not keep the graph, because I think it looks really cool, but it's really hard to be flexible, because I need to have the same amount of habits each month for it to be at all comparable. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna click through the settings, because when you do that, it's actually fucking up your graph. That is fine. I'm gonna tell you how you can fix that to look like it is looking for me right now. Like if you clicked through the settings and you decided which chart type you want to keep, for me personally, it's gonna be vertical bar. You choose that again, and then you start from the beginning. You go on x-axis and choose that you want to see the month, and then it should be sorted manually so that you can sort it by how the months are actually going. Then you go on the y-axis, choose what to show monthly win, and what you want to have for that is you want to have the median. And then afterwards you're going to group by name. It is grouping it by the names of the habits, and therefore you can not just see how you're doing each month, but you get also a very slightly overview how you're doing with each habit. And the last thing you can do, but you don't have to do it, you can add reference lines. I chose 5 reference lines up to I think 200, and therefore I can see how good I'm doing each month. This is not working for me anymore because the reference lines are in regards of the many habits I had in January. So when I have less habits in February, I would definitely not reach those lines. But if you want to have them, you can choose the value, a label, maybe emoji, a color, and then I would personally not do it solid, but dashed. And that's how you get the dot lines. The next section is for you maybe a little bit uninteresting, because like of what I have in my to-do list at the moment. I will give you an empty view of this and explain to you how I use it. So you're just gonna say like to do, and you know that this is important by the end of May. Before that, that is not important, so you will not see it. You can personalize this by 3 or 4 or whatever weeks. So when it's not important at the moment, you will not see it, but it will already be out of your mind, so you don't have to think about it all the time. I have a board view that I'm gonna explain a little bit further when I talk about my goals for this year. For each goal, I decided in what season or quarter I want to work on this specifically, especially like the small steps that I have to do to get to that goal. So if you're gonna see it here on the view I actually use, there are a lot of things that have no season because they are, for example, like a video I want to do for YouTube. I have another view where I have basically the same as the current view, and the only exception is that I don't have a filter. I put in a filter where it's just showing me the things that are either not started yet or in process. What I love to do is remind a week before, because when you do that, it turns red when it's within the next week. So for example, I put it in the end of May, but if I would have put it in on Saturday and has to be done by Saturday, it will turn red. So another thing that is also related to my yearly goals is that I have a section where it's basically about the topic, and I can choose for what of my goals this year this to-do is for. So the next section that you can see right now is also divided again into 2 views. One view where you can see all my New Year's resolutions goals, and one view that is again filtered so I can just see the things that are important to me this season. I'm just going to show you a little example without the things I wrote in there personally, but you can see the baseline. It is basically a little bit like a vision board that is working similarly to the actual vision board I did for this year. What I did is I selected the seasons that this is important in, and then I asked myself a few questions. Basically, the SMART theory. It is make a goal specific, measurable, attractive, realistic, and terminated. So that is about one of the goals, and I'm just gonna leave that as a template for you where I'm just gonna be like goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, and then the questions and the selection for the seasons I will leave in there. But I also did a 5-year plan, that I want to put into the template, because for me personally, it helped a lot. What you can see is that I have different topics that are just generally important for me within the next 5 years: home, relationships, jobs, health, finances, spirituality, and education. And as you can see, they are color coordinated. So for each of those 6 5-year goals, I did 2 smaller goals for this year. I wrote down a lot of very personal things in those topics, so I would not open one of those things in the moment, except of maybe home, because that is a little bit less personal. And you can really see how much I wrote down. So I was really taking a few days where I was sitting down, imagine my life in 5 years. So as you can see, I'm walking you from daily to weekly to monthly to long-term goals to a 5-year plan, to year goal, and then to a 5-year plan. I just did the same thing in reversed order. So I was sitting down, taking my time, imagine my next 5 years. And then I sat down and looked at the resolutions that come out of this that I want to have for this year. And then I was thinking, okay, how can I split that down into seasons? How can I split that down into like each month, and then into like daily goals and daily habits? So much about the video. I'm actually done with showing you how everything looks. I hope I gave you a very good overview. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section, or go to the video that I'm gonna put in the description box with explaining way better how exactly to do the habit tracker and the graph. But yeah, I think that it is for now. And I'm gonna see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.